Some facts about officer-involved shootings. First, 70% of all officer-involved shootings happen at less than a 6-foot distance. Among those where a police officer is killed, just over half are less than 6 feet from their killers when the shots are fired. Only about 8% are 50 feet away or more. Next, the hit ratio for officer-involved shootings is never good. The New York Police Department invests a lot of time and money on combat training for all officers. Even so, in 2006 NYPD officers fired 364 bullets at suspects and hit the intended targets 103 times. The hit rate was under 30%. Other police forces are no better. Next, Metro-Dade police from 1988 to 1994 found that revolvers were more accurate than semi-automatics in actual shootings. Police using revolvers hit the suspect 35% of the time, while semi-automatics hit the suspect only 25% of the time. The shift from revolvers to semi-automatics has probably had an adverse impact on officer-involved shootings. Next, if 2 officers are shooting at the same time, their accuracy declines by about 25%. If 3 or more officers are shooting, the accuracy declines by up to 80%. But as more officers take part, each of them also fires more rounds. 2 officers typically fire 50% more rounds each than either would alone, and 3 officers fire just as many more again. Next, 60 to 80% of all officer-involved shootings happen at night. Nighttime shootings show a further drop in accuracy of 25 to 35%. Studies of shootings in which there was a mistake of fact, that is, the officer misperceived something, show that 75% of such shootings happen in low light conditions. When a wallet and a gun are almost impossible to tell apart. It's entirely possible to have low light conditions during a sunny day, if an officer in bright sunlight is looking into a car from the side that is not lit by sunlight. Next, if an officer is holding the gun at the ready, with finger in safe position, the time that elapses from the decision to shoot, to the actual firing of the first shot, is about half a second. This is also how long it takes a suspect to turn 180 degrees and start to run. This is why suspects are often shot in the back. The officer will start moving when the suspect begins to make any drawing or aiming-like motion, but the suspect can get off a shot and then will to flee as the officer is completing the firing motion. It's impossible for a human to initiate this chain of actions and then break it off in the half second after the suspect began to wheel. Furthermore, all police are trained to fire more than once. On average, from 1990 to 2000, NYPD officers fired an average of 5 bullets per incident. Under these conditions, a suspect may very well get off a shot, turn to run, and take 2 or 3 shots in the back, before the officer has time to process that the suspect is no longer a threat and stop shooting. Next, it takes just over 1 second for a person standing erect to start falling after the person has been shot. During that time, a typical officer will fire 4 additional rounds. Those additional 4 rounds will all come after the suspect was already hit, but before the officer could see any effects of the shots. Next, the most dangerous situation a police officer faces is a traffic stop. Even if the officer already has a weapon drawn and at the ready, a person lying in wait inside a car can aim and fire twice as quickly as the officer can. If the officer doesn't have a gun in the ready, the disadvantage is even greater. Traffic stops are the most dangerous situation an officer can face. Finally, Mohanty, Meloy and Collins found 707 officer-involved shootings in an 8-year period in the United States and Canada. Of these, 36% were found to be suicide by cop, in which people intentionally provoke police into killing them. 5% more actually did complete suicide themselves. Thus, 2 of every 5 officer-involved shootings has a suicidal suspect. All of this is just some of the background knowledge that police carry around with them every day, and bring to any confrontation with a member of the public. Remember these facts when you read or hear about an officer-involved shooting.